This first one, he went into so much detail about the history of the church. That was supposed to be my job. But I told him that's okay. He made some mistakes. And I'll correct them.
You're in trouble.
And he leaned over to me and he said, fraternal correction, right? I said, no, you're young enough to be my son. I'm just going to tell you like it is. And then Father Nick and I shared another one of our special moments. Every time I incense him, it's something different. So I shouldn't say Father Nick, I should say Bishop Deacon. He's all fitted for his mitre already every time I say it. But his response to me was, thank you, my son. So as Father Michael was young enough to be my son, that guy in diapers back there, I don't even know where I was.
Amen.
Let me first say, to all of my friends, so many of you here tonight from the past, from those of you who helped raise me in the church, who were adults when I was just a young boy in this church, some 70 years ago. To those who have been parishioners who I've gotten to know, to all of you who have become family to me, and also to those of you that I've become new friends with over the past several years. So many of you who are here to support us tonight, even though you are not originally parishioners at St. Colman. You come from the other 6, 7 churches. I'm so grateful to welcome all of you home and to thank all of you who are here to support all of us at this last Mass lunch. So thank you. A little bit of history.
Correct.
For any of you who are history buffs, there were a number of significant events that went on in the year 1882 throughout the United States. And I'm not going to do what I usually do and ask you to answer those questions. But there were a few. In 1882, in the country, the first immigration policies and laws were passed in the United States. Significant in terms of what goes on in our world today. Second thing that relates more to us, Thomas Edison opened the first commercial electric power plant in the country. But there's also one other thing that was very special to this valley, to this community. And Father, you're only allowed to say Turtle Creek if you're from Turtle Creek. But in 1882, this parish was born. 144 years ago. My family alone has been 6 generations in this church. Some of you may even go back 7 generations over that 144 years. But for most of you who have come back, you have a special reason for being here. That this church, this school has meant something special to all of you. And again, welcome home.
Got it.
In 1882, this small community of Turtle Creek, with a small Catholic population, it was determined needed a church in the valley. And it was a small church, as Father said. First Mass was held in what was called Black's Hall, which was a community center in Turtle Creek. The Masses were held there. Then they were held, as Father said, in a school for a number of years. But then it was decided, and I couldn't find out through my digging up of history exactly when, but the first church, a small frame church, was built. And the first Mass in a church was held here. Since then, as Father said, we've gone through a couple of churches. The church came about in 1901 after the fire, the lightning was struck, and this new church came about in 1978. We've been through, I think it's 10 pastors in that 144 years. And I have a cheat sheet for that because I don't want to leave any of our priests out, even though I think I'm pretty sure I got them right. First pastor was Monsignor Cunningham, who was with us. I shouldn't say us. I didn't know it. I'm not sure any of you here tonight knew Monsignor Cunningham. If you did, those of you that are at least my age or a little bit older, you all know Father Shields.
Yeah.
I knew him at the tail end of his life when I was a young boy. And he was up at that amber, and I used to think, if he falls, can I get up quick enough to catch him? After Father Shields came Father Karski. You know your name? Father Savage. Father Worker. The man who built this church. Father Gorsh. Then Father Geinser. Father Pat Hines, who was only with us for a short couple of years before he passed. And then you all know this name, Father Jim Colman. 16 years he was here with us. So most of us, I think, know him in one fashion or another. Then Father Frank Almate became the first pastor when we became merged. And then Father Michael Stumpf is now our last pastor at this church. I want to recognize a few people who are here. And you are all special because you are here. So don't think I'm singling other people out and forgetting each and every one of you. But some people that have come up to me before Mass tonight, introduced themselves to me and told me their special story here. I'm going to work in reverse order. A woman who's sitting in the back came up to me and said her grandfather put the first stainless glass windows in the original church, which is patterned after the St. Colman Cathedral in Ireland. His name was Nathan T. Lallar. We're so grateful to your grandfather for being part of that history and for you joining us tonight at this closing Mass. Two very special women that I just met tonight. They weren't my teachers. I came along a little bit afterward. The Sisters of Mercy taught all of us who went to school at St. Colman. And with us tonight are Sister Pat and Sister Barb, who taught here in the 50s and 60s. I want to get this order right. A young man, young in my eyes anyway, who was the first person baptized in this new church, Donnie Christie, on May 27, 1978, is with us today. I just found out that the first altar server to serve in this church was Paul Messinio Jr., who is also with us here today. Saving the best for us. Kelly McIntyre, who is sitting right out here. Little hint, Kelly Riley. She was the first female altar server in St. Colman Parish. And I'm sure you all have stories. And I want you to share those stories. And I want you to keep those memories alive in your hearts, because that will keep this parish alive in your hearts by not forgetting the memories that you have. As I was thinking back, reflecting on my years here, and the special things that occurred, certainly first and foremost is this church. Whether it be this church now, the church that was built in 1901, if you go outside these doors, you'll see the cornerstone of that church that has a shrine to Mary that was donated by the Stefano family in honor of their deceased son. That was the cornerstone for what was the church that was patterned after the St. Colman Cathedral in Ireland. And then you go back even further to the frame house, and then the beginning of what was becoming St. Colman Parish. We all share, many of us I should say, share the same memories. Our first communions, our first reconciliations, our first confirmation, our confirmation, probably got married here as well. And we certainly, all of us collectively, have buried many of our family members from here. So those sacramental memories are near and deep to all of you as they are to me. And keep those in mind when you're thinking about St. Colman, when you're thinking about your time here, and what it meant to you, and why it was so important for you to be here tonight to share this closing Mass with us. But some of my best memories were in the school. How many of you went to St. Colman School here? Sure, lots of people, right? We were taught by the wonderful sisters of St. Mercy, and I don't want to hear any bad stories about any of our nuns. Our nuns were the most gracious, giving I ever encountered. You laugh, but I'm saying that seriously. We were taught by them.
They were great.
First teachers after our family of faith. We were taught by those 10 pastors and all of the many parochial vicars who served here, whose names I would never be able to recall. There were so many over all those years. But my memories of the school aren't so much about what I was taught, but what I was able to get away with. If you went to school here back when I did, in the 60s to the late 60s, guys especially, flipping baseball cards against the school wall, right?
Yeah.
Flipping cards, collecting those cards, which are probably worth a lot of money. We didn't flip them, we just kept them today. Flipping cards, never got in trouble for it. I even remember Father Chortis, one of the parochial vicars, used to come out and flip cards with us. We were okay. But it was memories like that of the school that made it a special place for me. It certainly was the education and the faith I was taught that's been with me my whole life and has carried me through the most difficult times of my life, as I'm sure it has for all of you. But one of the memories of this church is something that you've all experienced. If you've ever been a parishioner here, the lawn fete. All right? The lawn fete wasn't just a fundraiser for St. Colman Church. The lawn fete was a place where everyone came, not just from Turtle Creek, but from East Pittsburgh, from North Versailles. We had 5 days of eating, playing games, having fun, hanging out with one another, hoping you'd see the girls that you hadn't seen all summer. It was a time when we all came together as community. St. Colman Church is an important part of the Turtle Creek community. But when I feel the feelings that I do of sadness over what's happening, I feel more sad for the community that is losing this gathering place than I do for myself that's losing what was my home away from home. But my sisters and brothers, think about this. When you're working through the emotions that we are all working through, and Father Mesa mentioned a few, I hope anger is not one of them. There isn't anyone to be angry with. This is something that had to happen. We believe, we all, people sitting up there, part of this process, prayed deeply over this decision. It didn't just come about overnight. And we hated the decision we had to come to. It was a decision that was the only way to keep this parish, St. Joseph the Worker, around for more generations to come. So I hope there's no anger. I understand the sadness. I understand the disappointment. But let me put it into a little bit of perspective for you, how I've worked through all of this. So this is our home. For many of us, it's been our home our whole life. But how many of you, and I would imagine it's few, still live in the same house that you were raised in? A few. Only a few. Most of us, throughout our lives, have left our homes, our original homes, and have moved on to live in other homes. Personally, 7 over the course of my life. I know there are people that with more. But I know that when I left home that I lived in, and I moved on to the next place, that became my home. Because that's where my family was. We are all family. Each and every one of us that has a connection here is all part of one big Christian family. So when you leave your home, wow, my English teacher, I'm glad I wasn't you, Sister Pat. When we left our homes, we moved on. And we built a new one. And we built a new place for our families to belong to. While St. Colman Church is going through its final Mass tonight, our parish is not. We are blessed. Father Michael has said this many times over the that no matter where we go, there is always a Catholic Church. And home is where, not we were necessarily raised, but home is where the tabernacle is. Home is where Jesus Christ is. I want you to keep that in mind. I want you to keep that in mind through all the tears that I saw coming up in communion, all the tears that I saw when I was speaking to people in the back. It's good to cry. It's good to get that out. But as Father mentioned, in one way I'll just disagree with him a little bit. He said it's like a death. When I do what we call funeral services outside of Mass, which is the blessing service, I don't like to use the word dead or death. And many of you have heard my homilies in those because you've been there for them. I like to use the word transition. When we lose a loved one, if our faith is true, they didn't die. Their bodies may have been buried, but they moved on. They transitioned on to that life that awaits all of us who are followers and believers in Jesus Christ. Amen? Amen. Amen. So, when we lose someone and they're transitioning to that better life, no matter how good this life was, we mourn, we grieve, we cry, and we laugh. But we come together as family. That's where our love is, that's where our support is. And I'm not just talking about familial family. I'm talking about our church families. We all come together now. We all transition together now. From this building to the building on the Forest Hills campus, St. Joseph. I hope, I pray every day that all of you who are currently parishioners here at St. Joseph Morton Parish will continue to worship with us at our new church. Those of you who worship somewhere else now because you moved to a different town, to a different house, to a different place, this is still your place to come home to. When you're back visiting on holidays with your family, come to Mass at St. Joseph Morton. Continue to be part of the family that we have built over 144 years. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Don't get angry. As Father Michael also likes to say, we're always looking to the horizon with the hope and the light of Jesus Christ. He is still there. He is waiting for us. He will be there when we come to worship Him in this new place that will bring us all together. God bless you all.